Begin the current Daf Yomi Shabbos Daf. We did 6 lines down at the top of the oven. We'll continue with the next Mishnah, continuing the theme regarding the topic of this parak. We're trying to talk about knots on Shabbos. Cheers, co-sponsor because of Necheskel to any time. I appreciate everyone who's joining us today. Some of these we're going to speak about in today's Daf are knots that may remain in place if they're going to stay there for a while. So then that's going to be us. So the question is, what's regarding the weaver's rope? When you take a weaver, that's what the rope that usually does, and you tie the pail with the rope. Is that also something that we're going to say is forbidden or not? Because he's going to take it away, he's not going to leave it over there. Additionally, which weaver's tools are muktzah and which are not? There's many different tools of the weaver, and that gets into discussion regarding klisha malachta le'eser. Then the next Mishnah continues regarding folding clothing on Shabbos, which actually is machlekes you're showing actually what's the problem with folding clothing. And that gets us into discussion regarding the importance of Shabbos clothing. Also regarding kesha shel kayama, the kesha she'ina shel kayama, regarding it tells us any non-permanent knot is not a violation of kosher. Additionally, the discussion of a bow is going to come up. Is it considered a knot if one makes a bow? And like we mentioned, the klitcha machlista, some of the terms and concepts are, if you have a vessel that's used primarily for forbidden work, it's used for generally malacha that's forbidden, so then that item itself is going to be muktzah. Also, the term that we have a few times, in v'lav v'rafid biyadeh, which means he said yes, he said no, and then it was flaky in his hands, it means to say he wasn't sure how to respond. Also, we're going to discuss the pasuk Mimtzei Cheftzach Avada B'Davar that tells us on Shabbos we should dress, walk, speak differently on Shabbos. And also the halacha of leket's going to come up in one of the Agadata Gemaras regarding one of the matan sanim, which is if let's say it's one of these stalks or two of the stalks that fell down, that's left for the poor, but if it's three, then it already belongs to the balabais. So we begin the current daf, Kuviyat Gimel, 6 lines down to the top of the Yomig, where we continue with the next Mishnah, continuing on the theme of kisharim, of knots, which is one of the lamatas malachas on Shabbos. Says the Mishnah, Kaishin Dli, you can tie a pail, a bucket, bipesakya with a girdle on top of the pit, which is because this girdle that you're tying on with the pail, you're not going to leave it over there. So it's not a problem. The whole malacha, the way, again, people asked yesterday regarding what's considered kesha al gabi kesha, it's a machlekes rishonim exactly how to qualify what's considered the malacha. We always go with Rashi's interpretation. Rashi says depends if it's going to be left or not. Then that's the criterion regarding if it's the malacha of kesha or not. So this girdle, obviously some woman uses this, you're not going to leave it, although just now you need to pull up the pail, so you'll tie it to it, but you're not going to leave it over there. Therefore, that's not a problem of kesha. But you can't use a rope because you're going to leave it over there, and that's going to be a kesha shel kiyama, it's going to be a permanent knot, and because you're going to leave it, then you can tie it, that'll be the rope that you're using. So therefore, that's going to be forbidden. Now, Rabbi Yehuda actually says, Nigmar's going to explain how could that be. He says, no, you could use a rope, and you could use a rope to tie to the bucket, and that you'll have a bucket now to be able to pull up from the well. And the Mishnah ends, Kalal Rabbi Yehuda, this is the rule Rabbi Yehuda says. Any knot that's not permanent, you're not going to be liable for that. Now, Tais is asking and wonders, he says, wait a second, what is he going on? If he's going on the halacha that was just previously mentioned, there he said it's mutter legamri. You're allowed to go ahead and use the rope. What's he saying? En chayom nalav, which sounds like, but that there's some type of an issur. So he says two approaches. Either he's going on something the Gemara is actually going to mention. There's a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Chacham regarding making a bow. He's saying yes, any kesher she'ein shel kiyama not chayiv, but if it's shel kiyama, you can be chayiv even if it's a bow, which is coming to exclude from the Rabbanan that they hold making a bow is not considered making a knot. So we'll see that. That's what is going on. Or it's going on actually what the previous Mishnah spoke about. Previous Mishnah said, in Chayom Naleim, that Rebbe is coming to give a klal and say, if it's not a permanent knot, not going to be chayav, but it's not, it's just to explain. He's not going back in the words he just said before, because it's not, he just says you're allowed to use it. You wouldn't say the words in Chayom Naleim. But now the Gemara says, Chevel Demai. The Gemara doesn't understand, what's this halacha that you said, Yehuda holds, that you could use the rope, and the Chum say you can't use the rope to tie to the pail, to pull up water on Shabbos. It says, if you think it's going on the regular rope, how could that be? Yehuda would permit a permanent knot. If you're tying a rope onto the bucket, you're going to leave that rope over there because you got to pull up the water. How could you say Yehuda says it's going to be permitted? Rather says the Gemara, no, you're right. It's not my regular rope. It's chevel de gardi. It's the weaver's rope. That's where the machlek is, where you need that rope. You're a weaver. You use it all the time. You're not going to keep it over there. So then the Gemara asked the other way. So wait a second. Remember the Rabbanan Sabi, you can tell me the Rabbanan hold gazrinan chevel de gardi? You're right. No one agrees that that's really problematic. The weaver's rope should be permitted. But what are you going to tell me? The Rabbanan say you cannot do that because they make exera. We're not going to let you use the weaver's rope, although you're not usually going to leave it there permanently. Because if we let you use a weaver's rope, you might use a regular rope, and the regular rope you're going to leave it over there. So that's asa daraisa. And generally the chacham make exeris say something rabbinically forbidden. Atu, you might come to do something that's biblically forbidden. But then the Gemara says, what do you tell me? Rabbi Yehuda Sabalog gets in there. Rabbi Yehuda holds, no, we don't make exer. You could use the chevel, the guard, you could use the weaver's robe. We're not concerned that you're going to go ahead and use a regular robe. Says the Gemara, but that seems to be contradicted from the following brisa that they sound like they're saying exactly the opposite. Why? Chevel Talisha Nefsik. This halacha says like this. If you have the robe of a bucket that got detached, which got detached in the middle of the robe. So what should you do? So we have a machlekes. The Chachamim, they say, lo yehi koishrei, you're not allowed to make a knot, obviously, because making a knot in the middle of the robe is going to be a kesher shel kayam, and you're going to keep it there forever. But rather, what could you do? What should you do? You should make a bow. Rabbi Yehuda, he says, no. What you should do is, as you can see from the picture, you should attach the two edges of the rope that tore one on top of the other. Don't make a bow, don't make any knots. Rather, kairech punda. Take like a hollow belt and wrap it around. Like pesikyo, take like a girdle, wrap it around those two edges. And then as long as you don't make a bow for the rope. Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda holds that we're going to make a gzeira. If we let you make a bow, you might come to make a knot. And the Rabbanan don't make a gzeira. So says the Gemara, Kasha Rabbi Yehuda, Kasha Rabbanan Rabbanan. We have opposite logics over here in these two machlekes. Do you make a gzeira of atu or not? Here you have Rabbi Yehuda by the bow in this case that we just mentioned. He says, no. You're not allowed to make a bow. If we let you make a bow, you might make a knot. And the Rabbanan say, no, it's okay. You're allowed to make a bow, not geyser up to make a knot. Yet in that previous machlekes, you said the opposite. You said Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to use the weaver's rope. No, we're not concerned that you can come to use a regular rope. The Rabbanan says, no, you're not allowed to use a weaver's rope because you might come to use the regular rope. So who's the one that says gazrin and not to? It sounds like opposite logics. How do we understand that contradiction? Says Gemara, it's not a difficulty. Drabanan like it's not a difficulty in the opinion of Rabbanan, because chevel b'chevel michlef. What happens is that by a rope, one with the other, you could confuse different types of ropes. So not you can't differentiate necessarily, is this a weaver's rope or is this a regular rope? If you're led to use the weaver's rope, you might confuse a regular rope. That's why in the machlekes of our Mishnah they say you can't use the weaver's rope, because they're concerned. That might be confused. But bow with a knot, those are obviously different things. We know we tie our shoelaces on Shabbos, we use a bow. We're not concerned when they come to use a knot. They look very different. That's where they don't make such a gezerah. So Rabbanan, that's not difficult. And what's Rabbi Yehuda? That says the Gemara also like Kash, not difficulty. Why? Hasam within the Brisa, it's loy mishum de mechalfa aniva b'kshira. It's not because, you're right, Rabbi Yehuda's not concerned. Like in our Mishnah. He says you could use the weaver's rope, but not concerned you to come to use a regular rope. So why were they by the bow? Does he say you can't make a bow? So it's not because it's not because he's concerned you're going to confuse a bow with a knot. The bow itself is a knot. So it's not an atu, and therefore that's the halacha of the Mishnah that we understand that he says it's permitted because he does not gazrina. Here by the bow, it's aniva, that it's it itself. It is goof kshira here. He holds that making the bow itself would be considered a knot, and therefore he holds it us, so therefore you have to wrap the hollow belt around it. Now, the Gemara had previously mentioned the resolution of the halacha of our Mishnah. Of course, no one agrees you're allowed to use a regular rope. That's a kesha shal kiyama. The machlekes is regarding the chevel the gardi. Do you say atu chevel the amma or not? So the Gemara is going to say a similar type of an interpretation regarding a halacha of Amorah and the contradicting brisa. Says the Gemara, Amar Baba Amar Achia Bar Ashi Amar Rab. It says maybe Adam chevel matechmes. A person on Shabbos could bring a rope from his house. And you could tie one end of that rope, bepara, on the cow, and the second end will be abos on the trough, on the feeding basket. And we're not concerned that maybe when he's going to undo it from the cow, he's going to only undo the one that's attached to the cow, and he's going to keep the other one connected to the trough, which is the feeding basket of the animal, so that it can be prepared like that whenever he needs it. Or he'll undo the one by the basket, but he'll leave it on the cow. Comes out one of them is going to remain like that because you're lazy. You don't have to tie both ends. To leave it, the strap hanging on one of them. And it's going to come out that one of them is going to be kisha shlikayam. We're not concerned for that. You could tie it onto the cow in the feeding basket, and we know that you're going to end up undoing both of them. Problem is, Eisvir Bacha Richer Bacha, the long one, who Rebacha Bar Papa, he's Rebacha Bar Papa. That was just, he was called Rebacha Richer. He asked the following contradiction, Rababa, from the following Brisa. Brisa says exactly the opposite. Brisa says, Chevel Shebe Eivos. If you have a rope that's in the feeding trough, then then you can tie it. If it's already tied on one side, then you can tie it to the cow. V'shebepar, if it's tied onto the cow, then you can tie it onto the trough. As long as you don't do on Shabbos, you bring it from your house, and you tie it on both, on the cow, on the trough. So it's exactly not like it. It says that you can't tie on both sides, because we're concerned that you're going to come to leave it at least on one of them. Says the Gemara, no, it's not difficult. It's similar to the answer we originally gave for the halacha of our Mishnah. Hasma within the Brisa says it's forbidden, it's chevel dialma. That's talking about a general rope. A general rope, everyone would forbidden, we're concerned you're going to leave it over there. Hach over here, where we're saying that Rav says it's going to be permitted, is chevel the gard. He's talking about the weaver's rope. So Tosfos gives two interpretations. Either Rav's coming to tell us that we don't make a gzera of chevel the gard or chevel the alma, which like Rabbi Yehuda. He holds like him that we don't make such a gzera. Or says Tosfos, no, Rav could even be going like the Rabbanan, because even a regular rope is not so common to make a permanent knot when you're tying onto the cow, onto the trough, because you would undo that. It's not like a bucket that you want to have that bucket always have a rope. You need to schlep up the water. You always have to have here. Not going to leave it on the animal. The animal's walking around with this rope. Not going to leave it on the trough. And therefore, we don't make a gzera of the chevel the gardi up to chevel the alma. So again, that's what the resolution is, similar to the halachic resolution we had for the halacha of our Mishnah. Now, related to what we mentioned before, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, he says, klei kevoi, which are the weaver's vessels. As Rashi explained, since we were talking about the weaver's rope, which was related to the halacha of which our Mishnah was talking about, that was the machlekes, you read the chacham, could you go ahead and tie with the weaver's rope or not? With geyser at the chel dama. So now we talk about other instruments of the weaver. Says Shmuel, mutal talcum b'Shabbos. You're allowed to go ahead and move these tools of the weaver on Shabbos. Now, what is that referring to? Rashi explains it's referring to these two poles that they use, and the reason why you're allowed to move it and it's not considered muktzah is because it's used for other utilities too. Which that's coming to tell us that the weaver is not particular regarding it, and therefore it's not what's called the klisha malachta le'isr. It's not a vessel. It's designated for something prohibited. You're not allowed to just move something that's used for a prohibited thing. But if, let's say, it has permitted usage too, then you're allowed to use it, and it's not considered as muktzah. Now, that was regarding those two poles that are used to mount the warp. But by the name of Rabbi Yehuda, as for Yehuda, what's with kavod elyon? What's with the upper beam, and what's with kavod tafton, the lower beam? Ma, what's the halacha? Do we say that since they're very heavy, so they're usually not used for any other things, and then it is klisha malach l'esa? Klisha malach l'esa means that its regular utility is used for something prohibited, where weaving is prohibited. So it's like a screwdriver. A screwdriver is a klisha malach l'esa. It's meant to use for screwing in something into the wall, which is a malacha, boyin the makapat, some type of malacha. So here also, is this a klisha malach l'esa because it's very heavy and people don't use it for other things, or not? So it says the Gemara in Valav Rafi b'yad. He said yes. He says no. It was loose in his hands, meaning he wasn't really sure to say if it's asur or mutter. Now that was one opinion. However, says the Gemara Itmar, we learned that Amar of Nachman Mishmul, he says klei kivoi. He says clearly. He says the weaver's tools so mutter l'talton b'Shabbos. You're allowed to move that on Shabbos. Afil kavod elyon v'kavod tafton. He says even the upper beam and the lower beam. He says yes, that's permitted to go ahead and move. Shmuel says it's not muktzah, because as we see, there's three different responses that we had. Yehuda says wasn't sure. Shmuel, we're quoting right now, says it's not muktzah. Avaloi samudim. But he says not the posts. Those posts that have holes in them that you could then put in the weaver's tools into those posts, that what the women use for weaving, that is going to be forbidden. Now, that the Gemara asks, why? Why are the posts any different? That you're telling me that you can't move that versus, let's say, the beams and the poles, all those different things you say you can move. Why this you can't move? Elim, if it's because the kavod gum is because it makes holes in the ground, meaning when you take it out of the ground, since they're very heavy, they weigh down into the ground, so it moves around the earth and it makes a hole where the space of where the post is. But gumas memelu kavin, and the mafresh are busy to say exactly what is this malacha that we're talking about. But it's like some say it's klach yad. The hole that you'd be making would be indirect way, and therefore how are you going to say that that's considered that it's a problem about moving it on Shabbos? And the Gemara brings a raya that shouldn't be a problem, because it's not like the Mishnah Sectus Klein that says atoim lefes. Some berries he puts into the ground, turnips, v'tznoinis and radishes. He puts a tafas agefen underneath a grapevine. So in Miktzas Olav Magulam, if some of the leaves are still uncovered, they're not totally buried inside the ground. And Rashi explains this idea about some of the leaves being uncovered is only for the last part of this halacha, that you could move it on Shabbos. Because if it wasn't uncovered, you would have nothing to grab a hold of to pull it out from the ground. because you wouldn't be able to dig in the ground on Shabbos. Some of the leaves are uncovered. Says the Mishnah, in a chayshish, you don't have to be concerned for all these halachas we're about to say, because if you just put it in, you bury it into the ground, and some of the leaves are still uncovered, that means to say that it didn't really take root yet. So you don't have to be concerned lemishim climb, although it's by a grapevine, and that's considered climb. There's no problem about forbidden mixtures. For lemishim shviz, you have to be concerned for the laws of shmita. It's not like it's a shmita produce. For lemishim meiser, not for laws of meiser, which means to say, if we would say it's considered that it was planted, it was nullified in this planting, when you take it out, you would have to go out and take meiser again. No, we're not concerned about any of these things. It didn't take root yet. And when it's told Shabbos, like we said, since the leaves are uncovered, you'll be able to take it on Shabbos. One thing we see, how can you take it on Shabbos? When you're taking it on Shabbos, this thing that was buried in the ground, you're making a pit, you're making a guma. Obviously, we see that's not a concern, because, like we're saying, it's an indirect way of making it. We're not concerned for that. So again, what's the problem? Why are we saying you can't? This is problematic to move on Shabbos. Why is it any different than Kavod Elyon, Kavod Tachton, and the poles? Says there's a difference. Bisa, the inner field, you're right. Lo yosel shvui gumis. There's no concern because you're right. The pit happens indirectly, and when you take out that radish, when you take out that turnip, you're not going to come to smooth out the ground because it's a field. You're just going to leave it as it is. That's why you're allowed to take it on Shabbos. Hacha b'bayis. Here you're having this weaver's post in a house. Asla shvui gumis. No, the concern is not because you're making the hole. Concern is when you take it out, you're going to suddenly go ahead and try to smooth out the ground because you don't want that bump in the ground. That's a problem of baina on Shabbos. That's why we say you can't move the post simply because you might come to fill the hole and be violating the malacha of baina. Now the Gemara continues and has one final opinion of this Kavod Elyon and Kavod Tachton. It says klei kivai. This weaver's tools could go in Kavod Elyon, Kavod Tachton, like the upper beam and the lower beam. What's halacha? Could you move it on Shabbos? Amalei ein metalton. He says no, they cannot be moved. And he says matam. What's the reason? He says lefisha ein metalton, because they're not moved. Meaning even during the weekday, because they're so heavy. So therefore they don't use it for anything else. And klisha malach l'kach. Its utility is meant for something that's only usher, and therefore it's going to be forbidden. So we had three different responses regarding the upper beam and the lower beam of the weaver's tool. Either one, Rabbi Yehuda wasn't sure. Shmuel says no, it's not muktzah, and Rabbi Shloimy says no, it actually is muktzah. Now we continue with the next Mishnah, which again the poskim are not even so. There's a discussion regarding what is the malacha we're about to discuss, but be that as it may, we'll say it the way Rashi says it. The Mishnah says mekapnas hakelim. You're allowed to fold garments, which is when you stretch it out. Then when you fold it, when let's say it's laundered, because it gets soft from when you launder it, and it would get creased if you don't fold it. So you're allowed to fold garments on Shabbos, even 4 or 5 times in Shabbos, meaning if your intention is to subsequently wear it that day, you're allowed to fold it even 4 or 5 times, as long as you're going to go ahead and use it later on the day, and you don't want it to crease. So to matzinas amites milele Shabbos l'Shabbos, you're allowed to go ahead and make the beds, spread out the bed sheets from Friday night to Shabbos day. Aval loy mishabbos l'matzah Shabbos. You can't make the beds on Shabbos if you want it to be ready for Matzah Shabbos, because that's what's known as hachana. You know, make preparations for Shabbos for Matzah Shabbos. Now, I'm not getting into discussion regarding if it's for Shabbos, it doesn't look nice, or whatever. So that's. But if you're making the beds for Matzah Shabbos, that would be forbidden. Which actually Taisus brings from here. We learn out you're not allowed to fold your talis in shul because that's not for today anymore. How are you allowed to fold the talis? Now, so there's a discussion regarding not folding on the creases. But the basic halach is you're not allowed to fold the talis because that would be hachana for Matzah Shabbos. Now, Shmuel, he says, he says, you're allowed to fold the garments, and make the beds, so let's say Yom Kippur falls out on Friday, and Shabbos is the day after, you're allowed to fold the beds, you're allowed to make the beds and fold the garments from Yom Kippur to Shabbos, because Shabbos is greater than Yom Kippurim. And so to Bechelbu Shabbos Kriyavim Yom Kippurim. The fats of a carbon of Shabbos are allowed to be sacrificed on Yom Kippurim. So let's say Yom Kippur falls out on Matzah Shabbos. So Shabbos is the day before Yom Kippurim. So generally the night after a carbon is when you sacrifice that's what Ma'ariv is correlates to the Haktaris Emurim of a carbon. So you're allowed to sacrifice the fats of Shabbos on Yom Kippurim. Because again, we see Shabbos is greater than Yom Kippur. Yom Kippurim is Shabbos, but you can't go ahead and sacrifice, let's say Yom Kippur was Friday, and then Shabbos comes after, you now sacrifice the fats of the carbon of Yom Kippur on Shabbos. That's according to all Rabbi Shmuel. Kiva, he disagrees, says no. Lo yishal Shabbos kriyim Yom Kippurim, v'lo yishal Yom Kippurim kriyim Shabbos. You cannot sacrifice either one on the other day. You can do it on the day itself. That we have psukim to tell you allowed to do these malachas of sacrificing karbanos, but you can't do it on the other day. That there's no heter to do one on the other one. Now the Gemara qualifies the opening halacha of our Mishnah regarding the permission of folding garments on Shabbos even 4 or 5 times. Amr Rabbi Yanai, they say 4 qualifications that would allow you to go ahead and fold the garments on Shabbos. So he says, we didn't learn that you're allowed to fold the garments on Shabbos. It's one person doing it. But it's 2 people together. Then light. And actually the halacha follows like this interpretation. But 2 people, you're not allowed to do it because when the 2 people are folding it, so then you're really going to be stretching out the creases. That looks like, and this is where we get Rashi interpretation of what this malach is. It looks like kemisakin. It looks like it's misakin mana. It's fixing something. You're making it refined. That's what the malacha of misakin mana is, and therefore you're not allowed to have folding. The malacha of folding is problematic when it's going to be like tikkun mana. So one person doing it, he doesn't do it perfect, so that's okay. But 2 people doing it together, that's going to get it perfect. That's going to be misakin mana. So to ba'adam echanami, even when one person that we let you do it, only said by new garments. I'll be yishan and loy. But if it's an old garment, then you're not allowed to fold it because folding an old garment has more effectiveness than a new garment because new garments are more tough and they don't really crease so much. An old garment, you have to go ahead and fold it, so therefore that's going to be problematic. That you can't because that's masak and mana. A new garment's not really doing so much tikkun. One person doing it by a new garment, it's not really doing so much. But that's not going to be a problem. So to a third qualification, even by a new garment, we only said this by white garments because but by cold garments, which folding it is really effective for it, then light. Then no, again that's going to be a problem about masak and mana. And the fourth qualification, this heter of folding the clothing was only if you have nothing else to wear. But if he has some others lahachlif to switch to that day, then we never let you go ahead and fold the garments, which Taisa says we have other clothing to switch to, and therefore you're not allowed to fold the clothing on Shabbos. And the he brings this in doubt. Is that considered that you have other clothing to change into if it's not as nice as those garments? Is that considered yesh lo lahachlif if it's not as nice? I have something else to wear, but these are my dockers. These are it's not Shabbos clothing. Would that be considered yesh lo lahachlif or not? That the is in doubt. Now, Tanu Lina Bryson, so again, these are the 4 qualifications. It has to be by one person. This day, you're allowed to fold the clothing 4 or 5 times Shabbos, or 1 time, whatever it is. There's only one person, a new garment that's white, and no other change of clothing. If you're missing any one of these, you're not allowed to fold on Shabbos, because that would be enough of a tikkun to be considered mesakin mana. Now, Tanu Lina Bryson, Shabbos Gamliel, the house of Gamliel, Lahoyim a kaplan klei lovin shalom. They actually didn't fold even their white clothing, which is Rashi says that's a chiddush for sure, colored clothing, because that we said is a problem. But even though white we said is permitted, they didn't fold even their white garments, and the reason is because they didn't have the last qualification. They had other clothing to change into, so even though they had the first 3 qualifications, they didn't do that on Shabbos. Now, related to this idea about lahachlif, it's just the same word, but actually it means a whole different halacha. So that's what the Paisim talk about. Here it's not really mentioned, that idea. The Paisim talk about that idea that if it's not on the fold, so then that wouldn't be this folding shaboy. But here we're saying that even on the folds, you're allowed to do it if you have all these 4 different qualifications. Now, this idea that we just mentioned about shahil and lahachlif, that brings us into a different lahachlif. Amar Rav Huna says, in Yeshle lahachlif, if someone has clothing that to change into besides his weekday clothing, Yachlef, he should change them when he gets to Shabbos. So which means to say you should put on special Shabbos clothes. So again, it's the same word lahachlef, but it means something else. Now, v'me'ela lahachlef, but if he doesn't have clothing to change into, what should he do? Yishal shel begadav, he should lower down his garments lower down, so that they should look long. Because that's the way of the wealthy, that they sit in their house, they don't have to pick up their clothing from the ground because of the work that they're doing. And therefore that's covered Shabbos, that you look like royalty, and therefore let your clothing down. Now, Maskal Rav Safra finds this difficult. He says, but if you're going to do this, you're going to look arrogant because you're lowering your clothing. You look like this whole grace of mensch. Says the Gemara, yeah, keep the chalgim, look covered, since every day you don't do this. But you know who to cover, and it's only today that you're doing this. But it doesn't look like arrogance. It looks like you're doing it for Shabbos. Like the Gemara Brachos famously says, you have a grace of shtickle chal. You look like a Rav Sanusi. You look like a He says, no, the whole week he doesn't do this. For Shabbos Kodesh, Lekuvit Shabbos Kodesh, I grace leftful from Shul and Kim Taran. Not for myself. I'm doing it for Shabbos. Zero, so when you dress this beautiful way, it doesn't look like arrogance. All week long, I don't wear anything like that. But Shabbos, you should change your clothing. If you don't have a change of clothing, then you make your clothing a little bit more special. Which the Gemara that introduces this whole discussion regarding Kavod Shabbos. Beautiful discussion. The Gemara says, there's a pasuk in Yeshaya that says, you should honor the day of Shabbos, from not doing your normal path. What does that mean? So the word v'chibadetoi says that you should honor it, means that your clothing of Shabbos should not become mabushcha shel. It shouldn't be like the same clothing of the weekday. You don't wear that same jeans or whatever it is that you're wearing during the weekday. You don't wear it on Shabbos. It's not Shabbos clothing. As the Gemara brings v'chihad, like Rabbi Yochanan says, Kari lamani mechabdusa. He used to call his clothing my honor, because the clothing honors a person. The person walks in a nice suit, nice designer name. It honors a person, gives him the dignity. Everyone looks the same without that, right? You wear the clothing, it's only it gives the status. So therefore, on Shabbos, that's v'chibadetoi. The kavod of a mensch, of a person, is his clothing. Should wear nicer clothing, different clothing on Shabbos than you do during the weekday. When the pasuk says ma'aseh strechacha, that it shouldn't be, you should stop from doing your own ways. What does that mean? That the way you walk on Shabbos should not be should not be the way you walk during the weekday, which the Gemara on Amud Beis explain what exactly does that mean. Then the pasuk continues, from seeking your desires, that you shouldn't be doing on Shabbos. Now what does that mean? Rashi says, like the Gemara says in the Eivin Daf Yomi, a person should not go take a stroll at the end of his field on Shabbos to know, what does this need? He's going to check out his properties on Shabbos. Says, wait a second, I think I should refi this. I don't know. That you shouldn't be doing on Shabbos from seeking your interest. Now, but what does that say? Chafatzecha. That's saying your desires, chafatzecha, so your interests are forbidden. Chaftze shemayim return, but the interests of heaven are permitted. Which is you're allowed to go ahead and donate money to tzedakah on Shabbos. You're allowed to be involved in trying to make a shidduch on Shabbos, like the Gemara says later in Kuf Nun. So although these are interests that are being furthered, but that's Hashem's interest. That you're allowed to do on Shabbos is only chavetzecha asurim b'chebetz shemaim are permitted. Then the pasuk continues and says, "B'daber davar." Also, from speaking your words, what does that mean? As you continue to Amud Beis, Shlei diburcha shel Shabbos, that your speech on Shabbos should not be diburcha shel chol, should not be the way you speak during the weekday. So Rashi says that means, for example, like business dealings and making calculations. That's forbidden to be done on Shabbos. Shouldn't be speaking business on Shabbos. That's not Shabbos speech. Now Tosfos actually says a very interpretation. Rabbeinu Tam doesn't like that because he says you already know you can't talk business on Shabbos. You should not be furthering your own desires. Rather, he says, Rabbeinu Tam says, it's like it says a medrash in Meikar Rabbah. Shimba Yechoy had an elderly mother who used to talk a lot, and he said, "Mama, Shabbos sounds like stopping. Shvaig a bissel. Don't talk so much on Shabbos like you do during the weekday." And the Yerushalmi even says that it was very difficult that they even permitted to say shalom on Shabbos. Because we don't talk on Shabbos. Shabbos is a day of coming into yourself, being who you are. Your speech on Shabbos should not be the way you speak during the weekday. Stop, take a moment, connect with Shabbos. That's really not from V'daber davar. But additionally, from V'daber davar says that you're not allowed to speak the weekday type of speech. Says the Gemara, Dibur Asur. It's coming to tell you your speech is forbidden, but Hiru Mutter, but your thoughts are permitted, which is you're allowed to think in your heart and your mind and think, I spent that much on that field. What about that field? Now, I'll speak about it, but Hiru Mutter, as I heard someone recently on one of these Zoom classes say, he's like, Mir steiten Gemara Hiru Mutter, medaf allemol the cup soll sein in the Arbeit. A fill of Shabbos, man soll trachten. Right? I don't know, it doesn't say mitzvah, it just says that it's permitted to go ahead and think about it, but just not speak about it on Shabbos. So now the Gemara says, okay, I understand all the things you said that Shabbos should be different. I got it. Your speech should be different. You should dress differently. But one thing the Gemara says I don't understand is this that you said that the way you walk, where it says the way you walk on Shabbos should not be kiluch shachol. The way you walk on the weekday, mahi. What does that mean? How are you supposed to walk? You should limp a little bit. How should you walk differently? Says the Gemara, ki hada amar Rav Huna marav. Some say it's amar Rav Abba amar Rav Huna. This someone was walking on Shabbos. And he comes to a stream of water. So now it depends what you should do. And some people would like to say the driveway over here, whatever. But you come to a big stream of water. So like this. The old driveway. If you could put down your first foot, which means to say the foot that you picked up from one side of the water, to put down on the other side. If it could land, before you pick up the other leg, which means to say that the width of that water is not bigger than a stride of a step that you can take from one side to the other side. If you could do that, then it's permitted even to jump over that water to land, to pick up the other one before the other one lands. But v'mlav, let's say it's not possible, it's such a big body of water that you're not able to put down that one foot, let's say your right foot, before your left foot gets lifted, then it's asr, then it's forbidden to jump. That's what means to say you're walking on Shabbos should be different than the weekday. You have to be able to walk. If you can't walk over it, then you can't jump over that body of water. So that's the Gemara. Wait a second. That's really what it means to say? The Master Rabbi asked, he says, Sehek 11. So what are you supposed to do? You're not making it better, you're making it worse. Because you tell me he can't jump over that water, so what, lake it? So he has to go ahead and go all the way around that stream of water to where it ends? Come on, Bishbelucha, you're making him walk much more. So now you're making a tircha on Shabbos. Why is that better now? So says the Gemara, what are you going to tell me? Le'ever, he should walk through the water? He should put his feet in the water? Because you don't let him jump over it? What's going to happen is his clothing is going to get soaked in water. He's going to come to squeeze it out because it's all dripping wet. He's waiting to go into shul. He's dripping over it. Would that better? So it says the Gemara, Ella, rather, you're right. That can't be the interpretation. Rather, Baha, in the case we just described, keeping the layafsha, since it's not possible. You're right, Shabbat obviously we can let you jump over that water. Because it's not better for you to have to walk another half hour to go around the water, or to go in the water to get wet. Ella rather says more. So what does it mean? It's Rabbi Shloimy. He says, Malav say psi gasam Shabbos. What's Allah? You're allowed to take large strides on Shabbos. Do you violate asayis derachecha? What's a large step? It means more than an amma, which a regular step is around an amma, which is the max of around 2 feet. If you're taking large steps, that's considered psi gasa. You're allowed to take large steps on Shabbos. So Amalei, he said to him, wait, think on the weekday you're allowed to take large steps? Shani, I remember, because I say, psi gasa, a large step, may tell us echad mechamish meis mima'ur enav shaladam. Taking large steps removes 1/500th of the person's illumination of his eyes. And you lose your vision. Now, it comes back by the Kiddush on Friday night. Whoever drinks from that Kiddush on Friday night, it restores his eyesight. One thing says, that's what we're saying. You're not supposed to walk on Shabbos the way you walk, even during the week, you shouldn't. But that's what we're saying on Shabbos, you're not supposed to take large steps. The person's supposed to walk regular, medium-sized steps. On Shabbos, it shouldn't be like the weekday where everyone's hurrying and rushing and going and coming. A person is supposed to go regular walking on Shabbos. Now, similar type of a discussion where he asked the question regarding Shabbos, says, what do you mean? Shabbos, forget about even during the weekday. He asked the following question. He says, you're allowed to eat earth on Shabbos. In other words, do we make the gzera of shchikas hamanim, of like, the reason why you're not take medicine on Shabbos, because you're concerned you're going to come to grind down the herbs. Like, so do we say the same thing as by the earth? You're not allowed to eat the earth because you might come to grind it down on Shabbos, or not? So Amalei says, that's why I bring it over here. It's the same type of response. What, during the week do you think you're allowed to? Because I say, even during the weekdays for them, they shu malka, because it could bring a person to illness. As the Gemara says, similarly, Amr Bami. He says, Kol ha'oichel, whoever eats ma'afarish bubble, from the earth of bubble, kilo oichel mibsar v'yisv, it's like he ate from the flesh of his fathers. Because all the Jewish people died there in exile. If you eat the earth from there, it's like you ate the flesh of your fathers. The Yeshem, as some say, it's kilo oichel shkatzim v'rmasim, it's like eating all these bugs and vermin. Why? Because the Pasuk says by the Mabul, the Yimachas Kol Hikum B'Gaimer, that all the life on this planet got dissolved and got killed, and they all came down to Bavel, which is the lowest part of earth. If you're eating the earth, you're eating like all the vermin. As Amar Shlakish says, Lama Nikr Shema Shinar. Why is Bavel called Shinar? Because all the dead of the Mabul, of the flood, they got shaken over there. They all came down to Bavel, which is the lowest part. As Amar Rabbi Yechon says, Lama Nikr Shema Mitzula. Another name for Bavel is Mitzula, which is the deep. Why is it called that? Because all the dead of the Mabul, they sank over there. And again, that's why we said it's like eating from the flesh of your fathers, because they all got taken down over there. The Yeshem, like we said, some say, it's like you ate all the bug and the vermin, that everything comes down over there. But the Gemara says, wait a second. But it's for sure getting dissolved, which is actually two interpretations in Rashi, either that it didn't become earth or it did become earth, but either way, the Gemara is saying, what does that mean? Not really eating, even if all the bugs and the vermin come down to bubble, but they got dissolved already, what are you doing wrong? Says the Gemara, Amri, they said you're right. The truth is you're not really eating the flesh of your father. He's not really eating all the bug in the burma. But Kivin the Malki, and this is why we're bringing this discussion from the previous Gemara that he says you can't eat earth. So since it's actually hurtful for the person to eat earth, Gazu b'Rabbanan, the Rabbanan made a gzeira. They made it as if you're eating shkatz b'masim, but you're really not. It's just they really wanted you to stay away. It's like your mother says, oh, if you do that, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get this. You're going to grow green horns, or like, they're going extreme just to like stop you from doing it because it's harmful. So therefore they give these types of general surgeon warning about that it's like eating shkatzim b'masim. The Gemara says, why did we do this? Because there's actually such a story. The hahu gavra, the achol gargishta. There was actually a person who ate clay, the achol, and he ate tachli, ate cress, which is a certain type of vegetation. And actually the cress sprouted in his heart. Meaning the cress took root in the earth that he ate, and it grew in his stomach, and it touched his heart, who missed and he died. And therefore we said don't eat earth because things might actually grow inside of the person and then cause the person to die. Now returning to what we spoke about Kavod Shabbos, we learned out a few different things, limudim from the Pesukim in Rus, one of them relating to the previous Gemara's discussion regarding Big Day Shabbos. The Pasuk says that Nami tells Rus she wanted her to go and court Bayaz. So she told her, you're going to bathe, Besach, you're going to anoint yourself, and you're going to put on your clothing. Now, put on your clothing, what, do you think she was not dressed? Rather, the special clothing. Amar Balazi says, Eilu Bugadim Shel Shabbos. She was telling you to put on her Shabbos finery. That's what she was telling you to wear when she goes to sleep over there by the bed of Bayaz. Now, related to this that we brought in Rus, so the Gemara brings in the Pasuk, give to the wise person and they'll become smarter. You tell a smart guy a business deal and he says, and he takes it, not just what you told him, he's going to take and triple the money on that because he's smart. So too, Amr Balazi says, Zu Rus HaMoivia. This refers to Rus and Shmuel Ramasi and the famous Navi Shmuel. How so? Because by Rus, Dilu Nami Karmelo, what did Nami tell her, which we just quoted previously in the Pasuk? She told her this order: V'rechatz, you'll bathe yourself. V'sach, you'll go ahead and smear yourself with oil. V'samsim l'sach alive, and you'll put your clothing on you. V'yirav tagarin, and then you'll go down to the granary, to the threshing floor, where she's going to meet bias. Now, v'yilah b'didak said by herself. It actually said, what did she do? First it says v'teir tagarin. She went down to the threshing floor. V'hadim, and only after that, v'taske kol asher tzidasach hamayis, she did everything that her mother-in-law commanded her. Meaning, only when she got there did she anoint herself and put on the beautiful clothing, because she didn't want to, on her way going there, everyone's going to see she's all dressed up, say, who's this harlot? What is she doing over here? Right? So she was smart. She realized do it the other order. She first went down there in her bag, she had the clothing, she got all dressed up over there, no one saw her as she's going over there. So to Shmuel had an incident where the divine presence was calling him from the Heichel, from the sanctuary of the base of the Mishkan. Now he didn't know who's calling him. Now it says over there that Eli, he told the story over to Eli, who was the Kohen, and he understood that it was Hashem calling the youth. So the Eli Kamale, so Eli told him, okay, I'll tell you what to do now. Shachav, lay down, it's going to call you, V'amart daber Hashem, and you're going to say, okay, Hashem speak, because your servant is hearing. Eli understood it was the Shekhinah talking to him, so that he should respond back to the Shekhinah. Now, but regarding Shmuel himself, it actually says that he didn't do that. It says, Hashem came, and Hashem was stood there and he called out to him as he had done in the past, Shmuel. Shmuel said, Daber kishamei avdecha, speak because your servant is listening. He didn't say speak Hashem. He didn't want to mention Hashem's name because maybe it's not divine presence. So again, a smart person, you'll give him ideas and counsel, but I find this a lot when I tell parents parenting things or somebody say, I can't tell, don't call me every Thursday and Monday, tell me what should I do here, what should I do there, what should I do there. I can't tell you every little thing. And don't say, you said, I didn't mean that way in that context, right? It's a bit of clean. So here, Rus got a counsel from Nami, Shmuel got counsel from Eli, but he said it like this, but yes, you're smart, you use it the way it's supposed to be used, and she got dressed later, and he didn't say Daber Hashem, because maybe it's not Hashem, you know how to use it in the right way. Now, another pasuk, now the Gemara contains many different things referring to the Pesukim by Rus. It says, Vatelach, okay, it says she went, Vatamve, and then she came, which means she came back to Nami, Vatalakat Besada, and she gathered the gleanings from the field. Now, the difficulty is, why say Vatamve, but if she went, then she was Malakat Besada. Why say she came back? Vatelach, Vatamve, you don't come back and then you gather. So on that Rabbi Lazar, we have many teachings, these are all from Rabbi Lazar. says Shahal Chovas. It's coming to tell us that she first went, but then she came back. Hal Chovas, she went, she came back. Until she found appropriate people that were reapers to go with them, meaning she didn't want to go with not upstanding people. She went and came back, until she found like who's good people to go with, and then she went to go to the fields to reap with them. So the pasuk says, that Boaz said to his youth that were working there by the fields, were standing there on the reapers, which are those who cut down the stalks. To whom is this girl? Says, come up, he's asking about girls. But every single girl he sees, he's going to say, who is she? Who is she? That means to say he's looking at them. He's not looking at the girls. Why is he asking about girls? Who is this girl? Again, Amr Balazi says, it's because he saw something of wisdom regarding this girl. What was that? He saw something very smart about her. He saw her that when she saw Shnei Shibalim, when she saw 2 ears, 2 stalks of grain that fell down when they were reaping locked, and then she would take it. Shloisha Shibalim, when there would be 3 stalks that were laying near each other, Ein Lokta, she wouldn't take it, because that's actually the halacha of the Mishnah, Masechtas Peah. When there's 2 stalks of grain, that's considered leket, that's the matnasanim, then the other can take it. 3 is not, so you saw this girl knows something over here. Says, Vayman's the Maidul, there's, Lemi, Vayman's Maidul is this, so that's what he was asking about. Now, but Mastita, actually in the Brisa, we learned that Dvar Tznias Rabbah, this is a very famous Gemara, he saw something of modesty of her. What was this modesty that he saw about her? If the stalks were standing that Boaz had forgotten, then she took it mu'umid, standing, because as Rashi explains, you could have shikha, which is one of the matzanim, even by standing grain. Leket is when it falls down. But if, let's say, they passed it already and there was 2 of them, that's also considered shikha, and the ani could take it. So if we're standing, she would take it standing. Noiflace, but if, let's say, it was from those grain that fell out from when they were reaping, so then she would take it miyushav. She would take it sitting down. She wouldn't bend down to take it because of modesty. A woman bending down is not considered modest. She would sit down and take it. That was what he saw. He says, ooh, who's this girl over here? There's something special about this woman. And that's because he saw something of modesty. Now the pasuk says that Boaz told her, and so too you shall be attached with my youth. Says the Gemara, this is the way of Boaz to attach to women. What's he telling Rus? That you should be part of us, you should attach yourself to us. So again, Amr Balasi says, even the Chaz, since he saw that when there was these 2 daughter-in-laws of Nami, Vatishak Arpa kissed the mother-in-law, said goodbye. Rus cleaved herself to her mother-in-law. Amay says, Charlotte Buki Ba. She's the type of girl that we could cling to. We see her Mesiris Nefesh, and he says, you're going to be a part of us. You're right, he wasn't just clinging to any girl. Something very special about Rus. Now the pasuk says, but these are all different psukim along the narrative of the story in Rus. But Boaz told her at the time of eating, Gishi Halim, come over here. Now, that word Halim is interesting. Amr Balazi says, Remez Ramazla, he was alluding to something. As Rashi says, there was a Ruach HaKodesh, a divine spirit that just sparked in Boaz. He didn't necessarily know this, but he was alluding to her. The Davidic dynasty is going to come out of you. So it's like it says Bei Halim. It says by David the word Halim too. Like it says the Pasuk Shmuel Beis. It says by Yavi HaMelech David, the king David came. By Yeshua b'nei Hashem, and he sat in front of Hashem. But Yavi says, Mi anoichi Adonai Hashem. Who am I, my Lord Hashem? Umi Beisi, who's my house? Ki Yisani Adalam, that you brought me up until here to become the king. Says the same word Halim. He was alluding to Rus that you're going to be the mother, the matriarch of the Davidic dynasty. Now so too, he told her, the Taval Pitach B'chaimitz, dip your bread into vinegar. So Amr Balazi says, from here we see that vinegar is good for the heat. It was hot. That's what the reaping season is in the summer season. It was hot. Dip it into vinegar. We see that it's good for the heat. Now, Shmuel Nachmaniam, he says, yeah, but Remez Ramazlah. Again, he was alluding to her something. That Asif Ben lets us you're going to have a son that's going to come out of you. Shemaisav Kashan Kachem, that his actions are harsh like vinegar. Umane, who's that? That's Menashe. Menashe also comes from the Davidic dynasty. He was a Russia. And he was alluding to her also that not only he's going to get the good, but also the bad. Now it says within the pasuk, Vateshev mitzad hakoitzim, that she sat there on the side of the reapers. Amr Balazi says, why mitzad hakoitzim? He sat her on the side of the reapers, and not within the reapers. Meaning, all the workers were between him and her, and he did not sit her in between them or on the side of him. So again, says the Gemara, there was a divine spirit that sparked in Boaz. Remez Ramazlah, he was alluding to her, Shasida Malchus Beis David Shadaschalik, that the Davidic dynasty is going to be split. And he's alluding to her that which comes out from the 2 of them are going to be split. because had he sat her in the middle, that wouldn't have been the illusion. He's on one side, she's on the other side, that malchus is going to be split. Now, so to the pasuk says, "V'yitzvah lo kali b'toichel," that he roasted for her grain and she ate it, and the pasuk there continues, "V'tispa," she was satiated by toisa, and it was left over. So that sounds like that of wealth, of opulence, which because David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, Chizkiah HaMelech, all of them it talks about their wealth, who they all come from the Davidic dynasty, which is from Rus, because all the kings of the earth would come and bring them gift offerings. So Rabbi Lazar says, what is this alluding to? Batoichel, this that he was alluding to her, that she should eat and there's going to be enough for her to have left over, is alluding to her descendants. Batoichel, that she should eat, it was b'mei David. Tizba and satiated was b'mei Shlomo. And B'teisa left over is b'mei Chizkiah. That's one interpretation. B'gedam, those who say B'teichel that she ate was b'mei David or b'mei Shlomo, referring to David and his son Shlomo, who were very wealthy. But Tizba and she was satiated, that's referring to her descendants b'mei Chizkiah and Chizkiah Melech. But Teisa, and it was left over, that alludes to b'mei Rebbe, in the days of Rebbe. Because the Alamara, the master says, Ahurye de Rebbe, the stableman of Rebbe, who was in charge of the horses and the mules of Rebbe, have an Atim Mishra Malki, he was wealthier, the stableman of Rebbe, who was wealthier than the king Shapur, the king of Persia. As and therefore, the Rebbe was that third allusion in the pasuk. Masnidat on the Bryce we learned, it's actually referring to more historical things. B'teichel that she ate refers to Ba'il Hazeh in this world. But Tizba she was L'Mais Mashiach in the days of Mashiach. But Teisa and it was leftover was referring to La'asad Lavet. The Gemara concludes with a pasuk in Yeshaya, and the reason why we're bringing this pasuk is because it's a machlekes Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Elazar, and Shmuel ben Nachmani. So just like we just said before, we have these different opinions regarding these Amaram. So the Gemara brings them here in regards to a totally unrelated pasuk. The pasuk brings in Yeshaya, "V'tachas kavoda," beneath his dignity, Yekad Yekod, the flame was kindled. Yekod Eish, like the flame of the fire, which this pasuk is by when they killed the army of Sancherim, that they died. So it says that they died. And it describes it as V'tachas Kavayda, it kindled the flame. Hashem killed them all. Now, Amr B'Yechnon, he says, what does it mean V'tachas Kavayda? It means beneath his dignity, but like Kavayda Mamash, but not his dignity itself. Now, we mentioned this already on this Amid once before. So B'Yechnon Tameh, B'Yechnon goes according to his reasoning. B'Yechnon calls my garments my dignity. A person dresses, what gives him, they say, Pupletz, Zelda Mensch, right? What gives a person a dignity is his clothing. So as we're going to explain shortly, what he means to say, so beneath his covet, beneath his garments, that's what got burnt. Now, Rabbi Elazar, he says, V'tachas kavayda means in place of his honor, which means tachas kavayda mamash means no, taking the place of his honor. Rashi explains, both Rabbi Yechon and Rabbi Elazar hold that their bodies were burnt. It's just Rabbi Yechon understands tachas kavayda like the word tachas raglo, which means beneath. He learns kavayda is his garment. So if he's saying beneath the garments of the soldiers of Sancherim, their body was burnt and not their garments, because tachas means beneath, and kavayda is the clothing. That's the body. What's beneath the clothing is the body. Rabbi Elazar holds the word tachas means in place of, like chalipin, like it says Yishalom tachas ashar. You should pay in place of the ox. But that's because Rabbi Elazar does not hold that kavod refers to the garments. No, kavod refers to the person's body, and therefore, yes, the kavod itself was burnt, which in place of the body were ashes. So again, they're both holding that it's the body that got burned. Question is how you getting there. Is it tachas kavayda, beneath the clothing is what got burned? Or tachas means in place of, not beneath. In place of what was once a body, which is the kavod, that's what got burned. So again, they both hold it's the body, it's just coming from different ways of interpreting tachas kavayda. The third opinion, Shmuel ben Nachmani, says, tachas kavayda actually means kisreifas b'nei Aaron, means like the way the sons of Aaron were burned. Malam, just like over there with Shreifas Neshama B'Guf Kaim, actually their Neshama was burnt, but their body was intact. Avkan Shreifas Neshama B'Guf Kaim, also over here, it was that their soul got burnt, but their body was remained, because as Rashi explains, Reb Shmuel holds that Tachas means beneath, like Rabbi Yechanan, but he holds Kavaydai, the honor is not the clothing, it's like Rabbi Elazar, which is the body. So therefore he's explaining the pasuk like Rabbi Yechanan means beneath the kavod got burned, and not the kavod itself. But he holds kavod is the body. So therefore it means what's beneath the body got burnt, which is like the certain sons of Aaron, that their body was intact and their clothing was intact. As the Gemara says, it was their soul that got burnt. So that was the machlekes. What happened by the army of Sancherim? Was it their body that got burnt, or was it the neshama that got burnt? But everyone agrees their clothing was not. The question is, the first two interpretations, how do we get there? Was it because the sachas kavod beneath the clothing is what got burnt, or sachas means taking the place, because kavod refers to the person, body himself. Something that we spoke about in today's Daf and Shabbos Daf Kuf Yud Gimel. We spoke about the next Mishnah in this theme of our parak of Elik Sharm, of tying a knot, we said that you could tie a knot of a bucket with a girdle, because you're not going to leave it over there, so that's permitted. The machlekes was regarding a rope. Now the Gemara explains a regular rope, everyone agrees is going to be asa, because that's going to be left over there. Machlekes was regarding a chevel de gardi, a weaver's rope. Are we going to make a gzeira of otu that of the alma? And Rabbi Yehuda said a klal in the Mishnah, whatever kesh and ashal gem is going to be potter. Taisus discussed how did that even come into our Mishnah at all. Now the problem is that we have a Bryce actually says the exact opposite of the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Chacham. We have a machlekes regarding the rope of a bucket that got detached. So the Tanakama says you're allowed to make a bow. Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to. What does that mean? Let me say, the Tanakama does not make a gzeira to a regular knot, and Yehuda does. That's the exact opposite of our Mishnah. In our Mishnah, you said that Rabbi Yehuda holds that you're not concerned for that you're not concerned, and the Chacham say you are concerned, and therefore you can't use the Chevel de Gardi, and Rabbi Yehuda says you could. Here we're saying the exact opposite. Rabbi Yehuda is concerned for gzeira avatu, and the Tanakama is not. So the Gemara says no, it's not difficult. Kontra Banan, a rope with a rope gets confused. So yeah, the weaver's rope is going to be aser because you can't really tell the difference between a weaver's rope or a regular rope. So then we're going to make a gzeira of atu. But a bow with a knot, those are two very different things. Yeah, that's not going to get confused, and therefore you're allowed to make a bow. According to Yehuda, you're right. As in our Mishnah, he holds you could use the chevel begardi because you're not making a gzeira of atu chevel dama. But making a bow is not forbidden because of atu and knot. It itself, he holds, is a kshiri, is a knot, and therefore that's going to be forbidden. Then we spoke about another application of that same resolution of differentiating between the rope of a weaver and that of a regular rope. We said that yes, we have an Amoric opinion. A weaver's rope, we explained it was talking about, that you're allowed to tie on Shabbos to the cow and to the trough, but not a regular rope. That's what the case of the Bryce was talking about. Again, that's why it's not a contradiction on Rav. A regular rope you can't because you might leave it over there. A weaver's rope you are. Then once we were talking about the weaver's kalim, we said klei kivoy, which is the weaver's vessels, you're allowed to move it on Shabbos, it's not muktzah. There was a three-way discussion regarding what's the halacha of the kavod el and the kavod tachim, which are the upper and the lower beams, if that's muktzah or not. Is it very heavy? It's only going to be a kli shemalachtoy le'isser. That was that discussion. But everyone agrees you're not allowed to move the side post. Why? Because even though that pit is going to happen by itself, and we see that you're allowed to move the lefes, the turnip that was in the ground, you're also moving it. But here it's in the house. And here we're concerned that you might come to smooth out the pits, which is going to be the malacha of boina. So because of that, you're not allowed to move it, not because you're making the pit, because the pit has by itself, like some place can say, it's called kalach or yad, that wouldn't be the problem. Then we're to the next mission about folding garments. You're allowed to fold garments, you're allowed to make the beds, but not from Shabbos to Matzah Shabbos, because that would be a problem of hachana. You're allowed to do it from Yom Kippurim to Shabbos, but as machlekes regarding the fats of Shabbos, could they be sacrificed in Yom Kippurim or not? Now this, we said you're allowed to fold the garments on Shabbos, so we said there's 4 criteria. 1, it's got to be one person. 2, it's got to be new. 3, it's got to be white. And 4, it has to be that you have no other garments to wear. That's the only way you're allowed to fold on Shabbos. Then we got into discussion regarding the last item of that you have nothing to switch to. So we said when you come to Shabbos, you're supposed to switch into Shabbos garments. That we know from the Chibadata, you should honor Shabbos. The pasuk continues that your Shabbos walking should be different than during the weekday. Is that your interests are forbidden, but you're allowed to do cheftzei shemayim. You're allowed to go ahead and have people donating for a cause on Shabbos and bidding money. The dabba is that your speech on Shabbos should not be during the weekday, and we said that's only speech, but here thinking of business-related matters are going to be permitted. Now, what does it mean that your Shabbos walking should be different than during the weekday? It cannot mean that you shouldn't jump over water because then you're going to have to walk even longer. Rather, it means don't take large steps, which even during the weekday we said it shouldn't because it takes away 1/500 of a person's vision, which comes back by the Friday night kiddush if you're drinking. We also said you shouldn't eat earth, also even during the weekday, because it's dangerous, like someone once had that the cress actually grew inside of him and he died. Also, we got into the pasuk of Big Day Shabbos because it says by Rus, Nami told her, you should bathe, you should anoint yourself, and you should wear your clothing. Wearing clothing, of course she's wearing clothing. It means the Big Day Shabbos, she should look beautiful for bias. Which that got into discussion, that Rus was smart, and Shmuel was smart, although they were told certain things, they tweaked it a little bit because she obviously got dressed later on, shouldn't look like a Zaina, and Shmuel didn't say speak Hashem because he doesn't know if it's Hashem. And we ended up the daf with different Ramazim and Milas that it talks about by Rus, where it says she went and she came back, and then she gathered. What do you mean came back? You don't come back, you come back after you gather. It's good. She came back a few times until she found appropriate kaitzim to go with. When Boaz asked, who's this girl? Well, why is he asking about this girl? Either he saw something about wisdom regarding leket, she knew what to pick and what not, or he saw modesty by her that she didn't bend down, she sat down, she didn't want to look inappropriate. Also, he told her, you should go ahead and cling to us. Why? Because he saw that she clinged to Nami, so he said, you should cling to us. When he told her, come over here, what's haloim? He was referring to Malchus Beis David, it also says haloim. And we had a machlekes where we ended off regarding what does it mean the pasuk by the army of Sacher that they were killed. The sachas kavod yika yoker, beneath their dignity was a fire. Either means the word tachas means beneath their covet, which what's the covet is the begadim. The clothing is the covet. So that means their body was burnt. So too, the second interpretation, just from a different angle, he says, no, the word tachas means the exchange of the covet, and the covet is the body that was killed, or it actually means, no, tachas kavod, it means beneath the body, which is neshama, just like the Bnei Aaron, that's actually what happened by the army of Sacher, that the neshama was burnt, but the body was around. Thank you to Anytime for hosting us.